For some years now, I've been trying to find a real or a good or a fulfilling answer to the question, why do we like Halloween so much? And up to this day, I'm still trying to find answers, even though after so much investigation, talking about it in my classes and still explaining to my students and making them think about this celebration themselves, I've come to the conclusion that there are three reasons why we like Halloween so much. And these three reasons are going to be explained in this video on the Gothic Union lens, because the answer is very directly connected to our unconscious mind and the Gothic, which is what we like so much. So my friend, if Halloween is one of your favorite times of the year and you really want to know why is it that you like it so much, this video is for you. Welcome to Alice in Gothic Land. I'm Alice and this is episode 6, and it could be episode 666, but it's not. It could be fantastic for this day that we're doing this video today. Right, and welcome to another episode, as I said before. And if you're one of those people who really love Halloween and you just celebrate it, then maybe this video is not for you. But if you are one of those people who are very curious and you always want to find answers to questions such as why do we celebrate this, why do I like this so much, Halloween is very connected with our sense of horror, with terror, and it makes us think a lot about things that go inside our heads during the whole year, but we never find the time for them. Let me just elaborate for you. When I was little, I was always asking my mom why everything. And eventually this got me into trouble because my mom couldn't have any more answers. But as an adult, I could actually investigate further. And that was very, very rewarding. So in this investigation, and when it came down to scary things, and I started liking the Gothic and I started liking the dark place and dark spaces, I used to think, well, why is that? And then when we got to this time of the year, the questions continue. So in a way, what I've done, apart from writing my own magazine, that if you are not aware of, it's something that you can go now and check. I have a blog and a magazine. They are both in gothicalice.com. The magazine is a monthly issue, a monthly magazine, and it's not necessarily something that you can just read at one specific time of the year, even though it does talk about and it concentrates on specific events of that month. It's true that it has got a lot of evergreen topics, and the blog post is something that is going to help you think more about yourself and how to transition through difficult times in your life. So going back to the video today, so the three reasons, or three of the main reasons why we like Halloween. I'm going to talk about what I do in the magazine, which is self-awareness, critical thinking, and self-expression, because I think those are like three main basic pillars that actually explain very well what Halloween means and why does it connect so well with our unconscious mind and with ourselves, and what does that say about us, which is like probably the most important thing. One of the first things I want to talk about is I want to tell you how I got to this video like this. And the first thing I did, which is something that I normally do but I never tell you about, is to go to Google God and ask Google actually about why they eat things that we like Halloween so much. And interestingly enough, I found lots of articles, but I'm going to read you like 2 or 3 of the main ideas of the top ones, both in Spanish and in English, for you to see what are the similarities, but also for you to see what is still missing and why I actually have a magazine that talks about this in depth and why I am making this video today. So I'm going to be translating directly from what I found, but one of the first articles that I came up with when I was searching in the Spanish website, I was just typing the 3 reasons why we like Halloween so much. The first article that came up was 13 scary reasons, frightening, goosebumpy reasons why young people love Halloween. And this is from fad.s, that's the webpage, and it said, it has a scientific explanation, and we like science in this channel too. When fear explodes, the brain frees adrenaline and dopamine. So we have science here. These 2 hormones produce a sensation of euphoria, pleasure, and some people call that, they feel that this is even addictive. So our brains really like addictions, and fear kind of produces this as well, which is a bit strange, but it's true. This is an article from 2018. Now, a second article that I found that was entitled Why We Like Halloween, the Psychology Behind Halloween, still in Spanish Google search. Emily Ojeda, this year, on the 18th of October this year, she said that dressing up in Halloween, whether it's scary, funny, or sexy, can be a funny way to accept our morbid side, as in of what we really like, yes, and taboo aspects of our everyday lives. And when we talk about morbid side, we're not talking about, it's the negative connotation of not someone, when you say about someone being morbidly obese, is like, yeah, scarily obese. So yes, it's that sometimes the vocabulary, I have to think about it a bit because it translates strange from one language to the other. Anyways, so from a psychological level, fancy dressing or wearing costumes allows us to connect with things that scare us, which makes a lot of sense with what we do here in this channel, this connection with our unconscious mind, which is what people don't always look into. There's another webpage from a blog called Instituto Cerca, from the Instituto Cerca webpage, where we have a little chart, and in the chart we have the stimuli that are like the psychology of terror or psychology of horror. There are 4 steps. The first step is the stimuli that creates terror in us. The second step is how the hormonal revolution occurs, the adrenaline. The third step would be the acceleration of the heart beating, and we start sweating, and our muscles start being tense, and we even hyperventilate. And the fourth step is that we free dopamine and serotonin, and that's how we feel pleasure. We are quite weird in ourselves. We are very Gothic. That's what when I say you are Gothic but you don't know it, this is one of the reasons. So to have a bigger, more holistic view, I also asked in Google God in English, and one of the articles that came up at the top was why do we love Halloween, the psychology behind what makes Halloween so enjoyable, so very similar to the Spanish one. And here we have that adults, this article in Thrive Works says that adults have many reasons to love the spookiest holiday. One being that it can be fun, even freeing, to pretend to be someone else for a night. Not only does it let you do things and act in a ways you might not in your everyday life, but you can also have your problems and responsibilities behind, if only for a few hours. And this was written on the 22nd of October 2021. Another article that I don't think is fantastic, but it was quite at the top, is 5 reasons we love Halloween, which is similar to this video, but it's not quite the same, because in this article from a site called Nanny Butler, they talk about the fact that carving pumpkins, the season's crafts, dressing up, etc., are the things that make us love the season, but it doesn't really go in depth into the psychological side of things and the Gothic side of things, which is what we really like doing here. So all this is very good, and it's true that I do share a lot of these opinions, and we do share a lot of this information. And as I said, I used this information a long time ago for my classes, because I found that It was easy to explain things. It made our students think a little bit, but there was always something else that, for me, there was something missing. So for me, Halloween is a way to know ourselves a little bit better. Starting from the etymology of the word, what it means, Halloween. Remember that the original word coming from the Irish, the Celtic Irish, it was Samhain. And then, because that was pagan, when Christianity came along, they decided that it wasn't going to be called Samhain anymore. It was going to be called Halloween, which means All Hallows Eve. So is the All Saints Day or All Saints Night and then day that we are familiarized with. But because we use the term Halloween, then it sounds like it's something completely different. But it's also, the pagan side is Samhain. And what happens during this time of the year is very interesting because there is a factor of food factor that we have to think about when we do donations or when we do gifts to the deceased, and all this is actually for our for our ancestors, was a way to keep the dead happy so we could have a good harvest the following year. But also because for the Celts, they were only unified, the dead and the living, even though between the 31st and the 1st is the time when we have the lifting of the veil and we have all the cracks and everything else. It's true that for them it was a harmony, it was harmonious. It's not like now that we have otherized everything, that we don't like monsters, ghosts, the disease. It's all pushed towards one side. It's been otherized, it's been Gothicized, even, we could say, and it has lost that initial essence of it's part of life, it's part of the cycle, it's part of the circle that we belong to, that but we keep trying to break, and we always think linear, in a linear way, when actually it's all about cycles in life. The seasons are cycles, even our eyes inside our eyes, the pupil is circular, our planet is round. Start thinking of all the circles that have got hearts in the background, just think about all that, and it's very, very important. So for me, and from this psychological point of view, Halloween is more than just a night to dedicate to horrific things or to scary things or to things that go boo in the night and then bump in the night, or they go boo in the night, both things. And so that's why in this video I want to look first in the self-awareness. So first point, self-awareness is very important at this time of the year to think about why are we celebrating this, what elements of my identity during this time of the year resonate with me, what does that say about my process, about what I'm going through, if I'm going through some kind of bad situation or a bad moment in my life, and all the symbols that go with it, the pumpkin, the carving of the pumpkin, the jack-o'-lanterns, the food, the chestnuts. Here in Spain we use the chestnuts. And I'm not going to really talk about the more esoteric side of Halloween, which is something that in the past I've been asked about, but I don't really want to go there, because for me it's all this negative side of the witches, the ghosts and everything, but in extremis. And it's true that some people use this time of the year for certain rituals, but that's something I don't really want to talk about, because what I like talking about is our unconscious. I like to talk about the origins of the first celebrations, and probably, call me naive, but the most benevolent side of things. And it's scary enough in the Halloween time. Then also, that if you have to then think about how to use these energies in a more negative way to maybe harm other people or things like that, that's not my cup of tea. That's not what we do here. I like analyzing our minds. I like analyzing what goes underneath, but I also like keep it cool and keep it safe, if you want. Right, so in Jungian terms, when we talk about this self-awareness, Halloween is a very good example to talk about unconscious, collective unconsciousness, which is connected with this vital necessity that we all have about regarding our disease, to venerate them, to respect their memory, to think about them, to do offerings, to celebrate the season, to celebrate the night and the day, to celebrate fear and the lack of balance, which is very, very important for us humans, and for some people more than others. So when we do this kind of exhibition of everything monstrous, the otherness, everything that is strange, the uncanny, and we decorate it with colored spider webs and all these different colorful costumes, and then we add sweetness and we add drinks and we add games, then it's something that people like, and it's something that is being it's been celebrated worldwide somehow. If we think about Spain, for example, Spanish celebrations were and are very dull, like Castañada, the chestnut party. It's very dull, and I'll tell you more about it in the magazine. But it's a celebration that commemorates or remembers the deceased and the saints. Yes, the saints. So the saints also understood not just as the biblical religious saints, but also people who have died are also like some kind of saints. They will go to heaven. And you know, the food is very important, not just because in the Celtic tradition the food offering was not only for the living but also for the dead, but also because here in Spain the chestnut, the little cakes that we make in Catalonia for keeping the people, you know, now we just eat it as a dessert or as just part of the celebration. But in the past, those who were ringing the bell, the church bell, all the time, all night long, were very, very tired. So they used to eat these sweet potatoes, the chestnuts, and the panettes, and the sweet alcohol, muscatel we call it. So these celebrations are, you know, it's something that really strong, that really hits you inside. It is really so it's a very important, you know, why do we do this, since when did we start doing this? Because it creates this self-awareness that I was talking about. Also, if you think about other parts of the world, as I mentioned, in Spain we have El Día de Todos los Santos, but in Mexico we have El Día de Todos los Muertos, which is something that we are more familiarized due to TV programs, etc., etc. But there are also countries like Japan or Haiti that have started creating their own variation of Halloween. So how did that happen? How is that possible? This is history. That's what we need to go and investigate, go back in time and investigate. Because when the Irish Celts had to pass down their traditions to the future generations, and later on in history there was the potato famine, and a lot of Irish people went to the States to live there. They took with them their traditions, and therefore that's why now in America Halloween is probably more celebrated than even in Ireland, which is it's really strange. So in America the celebration has gone, as you know, it's gone really exaggerated and blown up out of proportion, which is a lot of fun for kids and it's a lot of fun for people, and it's also good for money because there's a creation of a lot of costumes, celebrations, decorations, sweets and more sweets, which are actually something that we could probably look into, because sugar is actually a type of drug and it's something that we shouldn't be fed with. So probably this could be a part of another video, although I do have an interview with Dr. Alessandra Pino, who talks about her book in collaboration with another writer, a Gothic cookbook, where we talk extensively about the side effects of sugar and how society and power manipulates us with certain food, which is something that I recommend you go and see and watch. So if we go back to this idea of the celebration, yes, of course, people from worldwide, we do like, you know, it's a lot more fun celebrating Halloween in the American style than celebrating La Castañada. So what do we get here in Spain? I think I've mentioned this in another video. We get Castaween, which is a combination of both things. The second reason why I think that we like Halloween so much, some of us, is because it is due to the critical thinking, as I said before. Critical thinking, and based on the Celtic Wheel of the Year, Christian and Pagan Prayers and Practices for Each Turning by Meg Llewellyn. She says that these moments signify the end of the old year for the Celts and the beginning of the new year. And this meant that the transition from the light of the summer to the darkness of the winter was here. That's what they were celebrating. They were celebrating this transition. And so when we investigate from this angle, from this lens, we realize that all those creatures that we are nowadays scared of, monsters, witches, ghosts, all these creatures, they used to be seen by the Celts like lost souls, you know, the fairies as well. For them, fairies were also part of that tradition, of that group. So they just wanted to find some kindness, and that's why they were offered food, and they were offered goods that came from the earth, and nothing to do with the kind of celebrations that we have nowadays. So this evolution is what I want you to think about. This is where the critical thinking is, because then you'll be thinking of the why, the how, the who, and then you're going to expand and you're going to broaden your ideas about what you celebrate, becoming aware of where it all comes from. So it's very interesting how Carl Jung, when he talks about the costume, the fact of dressing up, what does that say about us, which goes back to the article, that the fragment I was reading to you before. He used to say that the same way that we can find psychological truths in our dreams, we can also find psychological truths in the act of dressing up, which this could be another whole video. But again, you can read my magazine. I tell you more about that there. The third reason why I think it's important, that explains why we like Halloween so much, is down to self-expression. Human beings, we have this need to express our inner feelings, emotions, pains, what we go through. Sometimes we speak about it, sometimes we write about it. But it's very interesting what happens to the mind of some of us during this time of the year due to the lack of light. And this again goes back to science. So science says that for some people, this time of the year can actually be signify this imbalance, because in scientific terms, when there's less light, we have a decrease of serotonin, and it can also affect our levels of melatonin, which are hormones that are very important for the regulation of the dream, substances that are important for the regulation of the dream. So some people can find in these changes, these hormonal changes and these substances, this chemistry, these chemicals in our brains, they can find that this imbalance touches the depression side. For example, for some people, like my son was saying, and he doesn't know anything about this. He was saying the other day, I feel a bit depressed. I only have negative thoughts and thoughts about death, of past deaths that he is sad. He even thinks about our deaths. So I said to him, well, it's the time of the year. I wasn't wrong when I was saying it's the time of the year that it kind of invites you to this kind of thinking, because it's dark, it's cold outside. Well, not this year, but it's cold outside. We are watching horror things, so you are prone to be feeling that way, but there's nothing wrong with that. So because it's kind of negative and he's uncomfortable, he's connecting this discomfort with it being negative. And what I said to him was, just explore it, even write it down. For me, this time of the year has the opposite effect than to my kid, because it helps me be in a space that I really like, because I really like, maybe because of the chemicals in my brain, you know, the serotonin, the melatonin we were talking about at the beginning. Maybe I get triggered, my imagination gets triggered, and I feel very, very prolific writing stories at this time. And these stories that I write, that are scary and Gothic stories, are based on my own experiences. So it's a very good way, a very good moment for me to explore my unconscious mind in a moment where everything around me being quite, I think, without having taken a test, I think I am an HSP. Then what happens is that all the stimuli around me are fantastic. It's a great setting for me to actually explore this space that I love so much, because it's full of questions with not many answers. And exploring curiosity is always a good trigger and a good excuse to keep learning things. So anyway, my friends, this is it for today. I know it's a little bit shorter than normal, but basically what I want you to think is about why we we celebrate, why we like Halloween so much, not why so much why we celebrate it. There's a lot of information out there, but I want you to think about Halloween from a different angle. I want you to think from the self-awareness angle, critical thinking, and self-expression. And remember that if you want to get this magazine, you have some free stuff in my blog, where you can find all sorts of information there about your own transition. But if you want to, this is a pay material. In the shop you find all sorts of different things. So in the magazine for this month, in You Are Gothic But You Don't Know It, we have here everything that I've been talking to you about. You have the index, you have the table of contents, you have some information in between. The first article, self-awareness, where I detail and I expand a lot more in what I was just telling you there, with data, with references, with authors, with other researchers. You have a lot of quotes, you have a lot of information, very good information, because of the research is academic, and it's my research tends to be, I try to be quite accurate with my sources as well. So you have things that I have not spoken about here, like the pumpkin, the origin of the pumpkin, the carving, the hazelnut here in Spain, no, the chestnut here in Spain, the history of it, the cauldrons, the jack-o'-lantern, the story of jack-o'-lantern, what that says about our unconscious. Again, the first turnips, the first carving on turnips. We have all the ghosts, the zombies, the witches, and where we go back to. We have a lot of references to other videos and books that I've talked about in the past, but then you have it all here, all together. And we can carry on, but you have a bit of everything. So your critical thinking and all the references, all my information, my research, as I was saying before, and videos and other things that you can, as I said, some things you go there and they're free. And then you have the last section, which is self-expression, and then at the end of everything you have a little bit of a story that I write every month, the story of Andrea. Anyway, so I hope you have liked it, that you have enjoyed it. Remember that in the shop is to go to the shop is gothicalice.com. You don't just find magazines and that's it. You're gonna find also booklets for self-improvement, for self-awareness, like the Hero Journey is one of my last booklets that you can use to go deep in your unconscious mind. There's also, for those who like watching horror movies now, you have a dossier, it's a bilingual dossier to make you think more about your vocabulary, your expression, about the films that you watch, creating your own characters. It's a lot of fun, that dossier, and it took me hours to make it, and I think it's worth it for you to go and check it out. And there's a lot of other material that you're going to be finding there week by week, and it's all going to be helping you become more aware of who you are, of all those parts that you want to be integrating in this process of individuation in Jungian terms, and to know more about your Gothic side that is not always dark. It also has light, because it tells you a lot about you. So anyway, my friends, I hope you have a lovely Halloween. I hope that you enjoy it, and leave me your comments, and don't forget to follow me in the other social media if you want to, and to like, subscribe, share, bell, everything. And I love you and leave you. See you next time. Have a very good one and take care. Bye bye, my friends.